So why do you have to charge 0.75?
You absolutely
Really?
should not be doing, which is why I cough. But that is why I cough. But unfortunately, as you well know, that is the reality. I'd say there is maybe 15 to 20% of estate agents who are capable of achieving in fact, actually, I'm going to take that back. 100% of estate agents are capable, but only 15 to 20% of them actually.
I'm really not sure 100% are capable, but I think most aren't, frankly, because they don't prove the fact that they're worth 1.25, 1.5. They just don't. They don't give a good enough service, and it's a vicious circle because you don't employ the right people, because you don't charge the right fee, and you can't charge them. You can't pay them very much.
Correct.
So
you don't train them either, like Matt said.
And you don't.
Yeah.
There's no.
So there is no way you're going to get
here's a phone,
1.25, 1.5% if you don't do that.
No.
Fee's culture. Fee is culture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's absolutely right.
It's cultural.
Yeah, I mean, Foxtons in London, we're still double
Yeah.
what any of our competitors are. Double, and we're the biggest agent in London in terms of volume. Now,
Yeah.
we're towards the lower end. We don't get much of the big stuff.
Yeah.
But my God, we have volume, and our average fee is 2.37% across the whole of London. That includes Kensington and Crystal Palace.
And do you think a lot of that, Peter, is obviously you have to demonstrate capability in terms of volume of sales,
Yep.
success rates,
Yep.
and price achieved. But do you think a lot of it is just the mindset within
Yeah, I do.
Foxtons, which
You're
is
not allowed to-
that's what we do.
That's what
Yeah.
That's what we do.
That
Aren't they doing
was
the US?
kind of my point, Russell.
Yeah.
Is that actually I do believe that if you get into the mindset
Yeah.
and therefore follow process procedures, use the right tech
Yep.
and training
Yep.
and the whole picture,
Yeah.
I don't think there's any agent that would be watching this where I would say you can't charge that fee.
Sarah, you're dead right. But the problem is the jump from where they are to getting to that is
Yeah.
massive.
I agree with that.
Little points, little bits all the way up. So you go from 1 to 1.1.
Yeah, marginal gain.
Marginal gain,
Yeah.
and then 1.2, and then 1.3, and 1.5.
Absolutely.
And up you go.
Yeah.
And you're tough on it.
And is this
Really
the
tough
market to do it?
on it. Probably.
To finally
Yes.
go, let's
Without
raise
doubt.
these
Without
fees
doubt.
within the
It's
industry.
not- It's not a piece of cake to sell a house at the moment. So you have to really be better than the rest.
We've
So
already seen an
can we
increase.
talk about that? Going back to how we help estate agents and giving practical advice to people that are out there on the front line and talking about how we can't just put it on Rightmove. What are the tips that we've got? How do we market a property today without just sticking it on Rightmove? And how do we justify, what do we do to go out there and justify the higher fees?
And so how do we sell it or how we list it? Because I think there's two questions there. How do you
Marketing.
sell it without Rightmove, but how do you say to the consumer, you should come to me, you should use me regardless of the portals I'm on, and I'm going to charge you a good fee? How do you get to that? And I think that's what a lot of estate agents will want to know. Rather than this thing, and I agree with Peter in terms of ability, a lot of agents, when they're faced with a seller that says, but the bloke up the road said 0.5%, how many just go, all right then, I'll do it for that. I'll do it for that. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. Rather than justifying, well, of course you can get cheaper fees. And look, this is a role play session, right? But we all around this table know how we would try and overcome those objections. I'm not sure, to Peter's point, that 90% of agents do. Because to Adam's point, they're never told how to combat those objections.
They're not differentiating themselves, though, are they? Estate agents. In my mind, you go down that high street, you go down the estate agents road. They're all, this name, that name, the other name, slightly different colours, but similar message, similar service. There's no, with DXP, we look at presenter-led videos, drone photography, professional photography, that kind of stuff, and that makes you stand out. And a lot of the agents, because they're small business owners, they're part of the community, so they become the go-to agent. So fees never even a question then. I got a guy, to your point, going up from 1.1% to 1.2%, and I've targeted him, said, look, and not we set targets, but get to 2%. Trust me, and he's the market leader in his area, working to
Give him the numbers.
Yeah.
The numbers at 1 and the numbers at 2 are just
it's worth every penny.
dramatically
Worth
different.
every penny because he's better than the rest. Because everyone's just vanilla and
Brilliant.
Agents have
Okay.
worked out that if you want an instruction, there's two types of customer. There's the on-market customer, and then there's the off-market customer. Yep. So there's propensity to move. People are looking at behavioural traits through social media, etc. That means that people might move, and they stick a flyer in through the door. They go knock on the door. It's time to wake up to recognise that there are two types of buyer. And there always have been two types of buyer, but technology and the portals have changed it. There's the active buyer, those that physically have to go and do something, to go and find a house. They go on the portals. And the passive one, that in the olden days, used to look through the newspaper and say, oh, that's come to the market. Should we have a look at it? And you need to find a strategy through social media, through digital marketing, etc., to attract the passive buyer. And that's more important now than it was 12 months ago.
So
or even
could
2
you
months
attract
ago.
a passive buyer? This is a little idea that obviously has come from America, but in America they charge 6%. The vendor, the seller pays 6%,
Yeah.
and they use half of that to attract a buying agent.
Yeah.
So would there be an opportunity for agents in the UK to say to the vendor, right, we're going to charge you 2.5%, but we're going to give your property to all of the agents in the area, and they're all going to work on it.
Or selling
Whether it's
an
beneficial
upfront
or not.
marketing pack.
Well, that's how it used to work 30 years ago in London.
Well, and what you're suggesting is
Half-coms.
what you're suggesting is an MLS in Britain,
Exactly.
and I can't believe no one's ever done it.
Oh, really?
No, seriously, why not?
They've tried. Because
Not-
we're so
not that
pathetic. If you charge 0.75%, there's nothing to share.
There's nothing to share.
But it would in
They
itself
wouldn't get the instruction.
justify the
Well,
higher
you're
fee
right.
later.
And the consumer doesn't
Chicken and
see
egg.
any differential. any
no,
difference
chicken and
between
egg.
the.
No, it's commoditized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the trouble.
Well, when agents in London were charging, this is 25 years ago, we were all charging 2.5%.
Yeah.
And we said half cob with pleasure, stamped on the property details, which meant we would give away 1% if you brought us a buyer.
Yeah.
And that's totally
What was that before?
changed.
Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally changed because
Mike.
agents have done before.
Can I just
stuff like
mention that I think there's another reason why
Agree.
fees in the UK are so bad. Did he
Oh, he's got there already.
Did he say emu just to put me off? That's what they call in cricket sledging.
People haven't forgiven you, Russ.
Yeah, yeah.
You know
And
that.
there's me biting.
I
There's me
was
biting.
teasing.
Emu.
Well, sort of.
Emu, I don't recognise that word.
You could have let that slide.
No way. No way. No way. No, so, again, lessons from America. And I know, look, the people like me, maybe even Adam to an extent, and certain other estate agency businesses in the UK now that derive from the US can be kind of criticised for saying, look, we've seen the way that they operate in other countries, not just the US, but Australia and elsewhere. They charge higher fees. Now, the reason they charge higher fees is for a reason. They justify it, right? They don't just wake up one morning and decide to charge 6%. There's a justification. The thing that other markets do, and I can only talk from the US, having been out there 2 or 3 times to talk to agents about this, they build a thing called a relationship.
Yeah, quite right.
Heard of those? Heard of a
Because they're local
relationship?
people, that's why.
So what happens is that a lead drops. It might be friend of a friend, might be from a portal, it might be from, I don't know, some event they did, whatever. And the US are very, very good at that. They take the lead, they stick it into a nurture system, and they farm and nurture that lead for weeks, months, and years.
Same with Australia.
To the point that seller then thinks, actually, I've built up a really good relationship now with Adam. He keeps me informed about the local market and so on and so on and so on. And then by the time that person is actually looking to sell, they know who they're going to go to, and the fee, again to your point, is much, much less of an issue because of that relationship.
Yeah, right.
We have, particularly as a corporate estate agency sector, I think in Britain, we think a lead comes off Rightmove, which we may or may not open. Bearing in mind 25% of Rightmove leads aren't even opened as an email. We then ring them. If they've got a house to sell, we'll push for the valuation. If we don't get it, that lead is never spoken to again. That's 99% of estate agents do that, right?
Yeah, not all of them.
99%. Criticise me all you like for saying that. It's true, right?
That's the
what they do.
sound bite. We've got that. Here.
Okay, but I'm saying it's true.
Yeah, it's probably-
Take that lead and have the attitude. There's no such thing as a bad lead. There's just a lead, perhaps, that isn't ready yet. Seriously, and start building on those leads and nurturing them properly. Have a bit of patience. You will not only list more and sell more, you will get far higher fees as a consequence.
But without trying to sound like I'm promoting what we do, but is that not because of the estate agency industry in the UK?
You're spot on.
Culture
Yeah.
of the estate agent.
It's that everywhere else in the world is self-employed
Salary.
apart from us.
Yeah.
And that salary, that training, the regulation, the motivation. So, the motivation of most high street agencies, get me valuations, 50 valuations a month, 30 instructions, 20 sales, etc.
You know why, Adam? It's because estate agents in the UK are not paid enough.
You're quite right.
They're not paid
But
enough.
it's to Peter's point. It's a vicious
Chicken,
circle
it is.
because
It is.
for exactly that. And you're right. I'm a big fan of what you're doing, Adam, because I believe that the people have got the motivation to learn, train them, seek out training. If you don't give it to them, I'm sure you give them lots. But if you don't, they go and get it themselves because they have got a responsibility for themselves and their families, therefore, to actually be successful. I think, unfortunately, there's a little bit of and we can blame some portals if we want, but there's a bit of a laissez-faire attitude to it, which is, we're kind of just waiting for the leads to
The
come
next
in
one.
and the houses will sell, and it's got a lot worse over the last 2 years. And my big fear is that we're not actually, as an industry, equipped now to go into a tougher market. I think there's going to be a lot of people sort of
Most
rabbit in headlights.
They've only been recruited in the last 2 or 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly my point. And they should.
Need some grey hair like us.
But there's no.
Well, no.
Or no hair.
But then this is where what we need is great management, great leadership to help these people who want to do a good job. I'm a great believer in the fact that nobody goes to work in the morning to do a bad job. They go to do a good job, but they're not given the tools in which to do so. So they're left kind of floundering. I totally agree with your point. I even wrote nurture down there, you know, and you know, I know that you do that. That is what.
Do you believe in that, Mark?
Yeah, but I was smiling at Mark.
Probably not the first time he's heard the word, is
The
it?
funny thing is like, although obviously I believe in that, and you know our whole system's based around it, it comes down to something before that,
Yeah.
which is marketing. Like, why does anyone buy a BMW instead of a Fiesta? Who cares? It's a car. Like, why?
What?
It's a yeah. It's got four wheels. And it gets you from A to B.
No.
But that's the logic, right? But there's something unlogical about the fact that I want to buy a BMW instead of a Fiesta. Why does anyone buy an iPhone instead of a Samsung? Why does anyone go on a 50 grand holiday instead of a £1,000 holiday? Like, estate agents, they don't do that bit. They don't figure out what is the point of your company. There's 17 estate agents on this high street. You probably used to work for one of them. So what they'll do is they'll work for Foxtons, where they've been told we must charge 2.3%, 2.5%. They'll go and open up next door and go, you know what? I'll do it for 1.5. That'll be my differentiator.
Yeah.
But that's not a business.
What a terrible differentiator.
I've got.
Race to the
what's
bottom.
the point of your business?